don't you think Britishness exists?
Oh, it does exist, but it's coming under, I think, under attack, obviously, from the idea of an independent Scotland or a Devo Max Scotland. Because if at the end, before the independent referendum in Scotland, the three main parties offer maximum devolution to Scotland, people in England are going to start saying, well, if it's such a good idea, why can't we have some of it, and why can't we?
So you would like to see a federal system?
Oh, no, I would like to see, personally, I'd like to see assemblies in each of the English regions with the same powers as Scotland. That's my personal preference. But I think the UKIP vote, I see the vote across Europe, but particularly the UKIP vote, as a vote against globalisation. Mm-hmm. And the way that we deal with globalisation is, I believe, is to have bring decision-making closer to people, localism, devolve from the centre.
So the idea of Britain is a busted flush?
Well, it is, but it oughtn't to be. I mean, it's nothing to do with globalisation, really. It's to do with self-government. It's to do with being a people living in its own country, running itself under laws which its own people have chosen.
But it's not a single country. I mean, it's an entity that's not a country.
It's dissolving as a country because so many people have been trying to dissolve it for so long. And there's a very strong pressure from the European Union, which likes countries to be sliced up into regions and smaller parts before it swallows them up. That's very much what's behind the destruction of the Union, is the European Union's inability to tolerate other federations on its territory.
So the idea of England to you, is that something that you adhere to?
No, I've always tried to defend the idea of Britain. England hasn't existed as a country since the Union of Crowns in 1603, and the last English queen.
So you would say that Scotland
was
hasn't
Queen
either,
Elizabeth.
then?
Well, the problem is that because England has been under attack from within, from many people in Britain. I said England. Britain has been under attack from within by many people in Britain who didn't want it to continue, who wanted to dissolve it, and they've used nationalisms to do so.
So that's your fault?
No, I mean, I think the problem for the English is that they're not in the driving seat of either of these two forces. The Scots are in the driving seat of devolution. The European Union is in the driving seat of globalisation. So the British state, and that's what it is. England is a country. Britain isn't a country. It doesn't have a football team. It doesn't have a patron saint, as I was saying earlier. But England is a country. But it's a country that has allowed its identity to be wrapped in the Union Jack, really since the Glorious Revolution. And because of what's happening in Scotland, we've got to try and pick up the threads of Englishness and see where we are now.
So you would say for St George and the Dragon?
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, there are different traditions within England. The point is, Kirsty, if people see the flag of St George on the back of a white minivan, they immediately take an opinion. You never see that if you see the flag of St Andrew or the Welsh flag. Whose problem is that?
So what, you're trying to reclaim Englishness?
No, I'm just trying to make a manifestation of Englishness that is inclusive and not. There is an element within the UKIP vote that is, there is a Little Englander element within it. I don't think all of it's Little Englander, but they are kind of the de facto English national party now, I think.
What does this Little Englander mean? I think there's a lot of people in England who are puzzled by the fact that for some reason the other nations of the United Kingdom seem to want to tear themselves away and declare loyalty to somebody else. Scotland isn't going to be independent. Ireland isn't independent. Northern Ireland will not be independent when it leaves, as I fear it will. They will simply be provinces of the European Union, and they will, instead of going to Brussels through London, they'll go direct to Brussels. It's barely possible for the United Kingdom to be an independent sovereign country anymore. For these other ones to do it is just beyond them. How can they maintain the sort of armed forces and currency and all kinds of other things which a country needs to be a country?
I don't understand how you can sit there and demand self-determination for Britain and not understand why the Scots want self-determination for Scotland.
I didn't understand it.
But no, you said that's what. No, you don't understand.
I just think it's a mistake. I think Scotland, England, Wales, and come to that island have more in common with each other than they have with any of the countries of continental Europe.
But it's up to the people of Scotland to say that, not you, Peter. You're an Englishman.
I didn't say it wasn't up to them, but I think that one of the reasons why Scotland is likely, I think, to leave either totally or through Devo Max is because of the feebleness of the British response. The whole idea of unionism has lost all force because the main party, which was supposed to defend it, has itself become a European party. The Conservative Party, which ought to have been defending the Union, and come to that, the Labour Party, which ought to have been defending the Union, have both become shills for the European Union. How can you defend the British United Kingdom while simultaneously campaigning for the European Union? You can't. They're rival entities.
But the Scots' urge for self-determination is a response to globalisation, is a response to the supranational capitalism that's manifest in the City of
Wait a
London.
minute, but are you suggesting that people in Scotland are not for the idea of the European Union?
No, not at all. No, I'm suggesting that people in Scotland are no longer willing to allow the market to solve all the problems that society presents. There's that dogma that we've had since the years of Thatcherism that wasn't swept away by New Labour, that's put the City of London in such a powerful position
You're
within our
mixing
society.
up two completely different things. Apart from anything else, the European Union imposes globalisation in the market on all its members in a completely ruthless fashion. And if you think Scotland's going to escape that by leaving the United Kingdom, you're very much mistaken.
I mean, but let's be quite clear. It seems to me that what the people that want a separate Scotland are saying is they want that within the European Union.
Well, and
they may not even get it.
Well, they may not get it, but it is what has fundamentally made it practically possible. Mm-hmm. Before then, only a token independence would have been possible, which would really have been a dependence.
No, I totally disagree.
No, it would have been.
The Irish Republic doesn't have a token independence. The Irish Republic has 100% independence. And Scotland is just as viable as the Irish Republic.
That's exactly the point I was about to make. The Irish Republic really didn't attain 100% independence until it joined the euro and broke away from currency union with Britain. That was the moment at which it really became seriously independent. In the period before that, it had been largely a token independence.
So let's look to the future and the Billy Bragg's future of the idea that there's some kind of, with regional assemblies, there's some kind of federalism where England is reborn as a different entity.
Oh heavens, once that starts, then who knows? I'm Cornish. Hitchens is a Cornish name. I could set myself up. I could buy a large jumper and grow an enormous beard and become a Cornish nationalist, and no doubt subsidies and money would flow towards me. All kinds of things will happen to England once the United Kingdom ceases to exist. But all kinds of nationalisms become possible once Britain ceases to exist, but all of them will ultimately be provinces of the European Union and therefore not independent at all. It's token stuff. It's like Morris dancing. It's not a real country.
But
a real country is a people living sovereign on its own territory, making its own laws. That's not what any of these places will be.
But is Nigel Farage, do you think, more in touch with England than you are?
I don't think he's in touch. He's in touch with a certain type of England. There isn't just one England.
A lot of people vote for.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the people that were voting for Nigel Farage are the discontents of globalisation. And because for many people globalisation, it's intangible. But in the European Union, because it enforces globalisation, it gives people the opportunity to talk out against it. What we need to do is reform the European Union so that it becomes more about society and less about international capitalism.
Well, that'd be great if the European Union were reformable, but it is not.